Throw those rascals in the truck bed and hitch up the trailer, Mama. It's time for another half-baked episode of Nature Calls.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome. This is the Nature Calls podcast. My name is Mr. P. I'm your host for this week's show. Everybody just squeeze in a little. Find a spot on the sofa. Hey, Margie, can you get that dog off the furniture? Yeah, thank you. All right, now everybody settle in for this week's episode. A little birdie told me it's going to be a good one. Our first story is about being a nerdy kid in school. Now, as I look around the room, I can tell that everyone here this week in the studio was a cool kid in grammar school. But there are some, you know who I'm talking about, who aren't as cool as others? So here it is. The story is called Teenage Sunglasses from Hell, exclusively on the Nature Calls podcast.
I was that kid in school with the bowl cut, the fat kid with the pizza face. My grandmother dressed me in skin-tight white undershirts under my t-shirts. Why undershirts? I'm still not sure. I wore Rustler brand jeans and machine shop leather work boots with oil-resistant soles. I was a classic 7th grade geek, and on top of all that, my eyes were going and I needed glasses. While my classmates wore steel-framed glasses that made them look like young, smart engineers, I was under the thumb of my grandmother, and she picked out a pair of blue unisex ladies' frames from the half-price rack. Look, if I were a 50-something divorcee from Manhattan, sure, those glasses might have given me an uptown sophistication, hang a gold chain off them, and I might attract the attention of a retired barber from Queens to share my nights with. But the blue frames were like a swift kick to my manhood. My chances of ever getting a girlfriend were 0 to none. I say all this because I'm about to tell you a true story. On a spring afternoon at a lake near my childhood home, I was swimming around with a mask and snorkel when I found a pair of sunglasses 20 feet underwater. They were gold-rimmed and heavy and covered in lake moss. The lenses were gradient, starting out almost black at the top and fading to nearly clear at the bottom. I pictured them being dropped overboard by a drug dealer or outlaw fisherman, or better still, an undercover narc who liked to fish while tailing drug dealers. Swimming to the surface, I pulled off my dive mask and slipped the glasses on. Not only were they sunglasses, but prescription lenses. It felt as if God had sent a beam of sunlight down through the clouds to illuminate this miraculous moment. Surely divine providence had placed these glasses in the lake for me to discover. Granted, the left lens was a complete blur, and the right lens was so overcorrected that it was like looking backwards through a peephole in a motel door. Yet, I was willing to permanently damage my eyes if I could be a cool kid for once in my life. I picked up the phone and called the retired barber from Queens and canceled our date for Friday night. On Monday morning, I left the house wearing my usual women's glasses, found my seat on the school bus, and promptly switched to the sunglasses. A pretty girl smiled my way. The theme song to Miami Vice played over the hum of the engine, and I was about to cruise the fast lane of 7th grade junior high with a pair of sunglasses that the teachers could not refuse. I strode off the bus into a bright new day, chin up and head back, with one hand firmly clamped on a friend's shoulder to keep from falling on my face. My English teacher, who was well aware of my vision problems, noticed the new glasses right off. "Jim, do come up here, please," she said, beckoning me forward. I used my feet as a form of braille, reading the desk legs, other students' shoes, and stacks of books as I blindly worked my way towards the killer of my coolness. "What's going on?" she asked. "Nothing, Mrs. Polyester." "New glasses today?" she asked. "Yes, just got 'em." Where are your other glasses, Jim? Why aren't you wearing those? You can't wear sunglasses in class. It's against the rules." Right, the rules say no sunglasses. But how could she hold me back? "Here, look," I said to her. "These are prescription lenses." I took them off and handed them over. "Your grandmother approved these?" she asked skeptically. "They look like something a drug narc would wear while fishing at a lake." I chuckled at the ridiculous suggestion. "You think I found these in a lake and just decided to wear them to school? Come on, who would do such a thing?" Mrs. P studied me for a long moment. One of her drawn-on eyebrows arched like an exaggerated fishhook. She waited for me to flinch, waited for me to break down and admit this was all a ploy to become one of the cool kids. "Well," she said dryly, "I can't allow these in class without medical approval." She scribbled a hall pass for me. "Are you sure you want the school nurse to examine you?" I nodded my approval. "I'm over here," Mrs. P said, seeing that I had been nodding at the world globe next to her desk. At the nurse's station, I realized this was going to take some ingenuity to pull off. Let me back up and tell you what happened between finding the glasses on Saturday afternoon and deciding to wear them to school on Monday morning. In my infinite wisdom, I decided to try them out at Sunday school, which meant I had to be the part, as actors say. Looking back, I can say that a 12-year-old boy in church on Sunday morning wearing sunglasses inside the dark building is stupid. But in the moment, it seemed right. I was trying my hardest to be cool, with my bowl-cut hair parted in the middle and the glasses propped on my nose. I thought I looked like the singer Jackson Browne. He was cool and I was cool, and as long as I pretended that I was a famous musician, I would pass the test. "If Jesus were watching you," the Sunday school teacher said to the group while eyeing me suspiciously, "if Jesus were watching you and someone handed you a marijuana cigarette, would you take it, knowing that you might go to hell if you smoked it?" Tough answer, I thought, and sat perfectly still and didn't blink. "Jim, are you listening? Are you gonna take the cigarette or not?" I shook my head, no. "What's up with the glasses?" she asked. "Oh, these." I took them off and handed them over for examination. "They're new, see? Prescription and everything." "Your grandmother approved these? They look a little rusty on the screws." "She paid for them," I lied, knowing that I was now officially going to hell for lying in church. Back in the nurse's station, I watched a kid vomit into a wastebasket, saw another stretched out under a blanket shivering with typhoid, and a third had severed an artery in shop class and was shooting blood across the room. A pretty typical day for a school nurse. She looked at me through the gas mask she wore to avoid typhoid. "Well," she said with a shrug, "I can't give the sunglasses my blessing without passing an eye exam. You know what that means?" "Sure I do," I said, with a hint of macho coolness. "I've been reading eye charts since I was a baby. The last line in that one over there says IZEMQ. Without looking at the chart herself, she said, "Who do you think you're dealing with? You wander in here and expect me to sign off on your scheme. I'm on to you. You will never be a cool kid. What? But why? Because of those clunky boots, that bowl cut, and those V-neck undershirts. Face it, the cool kids of the world have their own private bathrooms and lunch tables. They walk home after school and stop at the ice cream shop for vanilla swirls. You, sir, will never be a cool kid. And I refuse to write you a slip for the sunglasses. What? But why? Because the last line on the chart says Made in China. Better luck next time.
Nature calls secret to success is 2 strong coffees and a bran muffin.
Dick Hatfield here. We're happy to announce a new sponsor of the International Hort Club, Bernard Dehydrated Water. Bernard Dehydrated Water is easy to use. Simply empty the contents of the can into a gallon of water. Stir until dissolved. Chill and serve. That's Bernard Dehydrated Water, now available where things are sold.
Elon Musk is not going to Mars just yet. The billionaire is instead opting to focus the efforts of SpaceX towards hauling rockets full of building supplies to the moon. This comes as NASA gets ready to establish a permanent base on the lunar surface. NASA engineers say they will need upwards of 45 round-trip rockets full of supplies to get started. As a side note, our inside sources report that Buc-ee's Travel Centers has already started construction on the first ever rocket refueling travel center just outside the moon base. Besides rocket fuel, it will offer clean showers and barbecue brisket sandwiches. The Buc-ee's marketing team erected a billboard near the launch pad at Cape Canaveral this week. The billboard depicts that cute little beaver wearing a spacesuit and the words, "Only 240,000 miles to Buc-ee's? You can hold it." I'm Lisa Tundra for the Nature Calls podcast.
I will say this about Buc-ee's. They do have the cleanest restrooms around, and I like the beaver nuggets. Sorry, but it's true. All right, let's get some music going. Our guest for this episode is Georgia-born troubadour Zach Steek. Zach brings humor and heart to his sharp storytelling style. He's got a straight-up Americana sound and weaves his wit and warmth into the songs. Zach has graced stages from the Cohuta Song Fest and Ellijay Songwriters Festival in North Georgia. Following his 2023 debut album titled Towards the Storm, Zach released his highly anticipated full-length album, Till They Put Me in the Ground, in November of 2025. This new body of work delves even deeper into his clever songwriting abilities and genuine storytelling. So, without further ado, here's Zach Steek singing his song, The Way It Goes.
I just settled up and I got the hammer down, looking for some commercial company.
Well, I was on the road, I was running fast, I was trying to get away from an awful hag who broke my heart and left me with a smile. And I wasn't gonna stop not for dinner or gas. Yes sir, I mean I was really hauling ass, and I didn't plan to slow down for 1,000 miles. At about 50 miles I slammed on the brakes, I stopped and did me a double take for a pretty blue-eyed blonde on the side of the road. Well, I checked my breath, I cleaned off the seat, and she looked at me, my heart skipped a beat, and I was grinning just like a Georgia muddy toad. That's the way it goes, that's the way it goes, or at least that's what I've been told. Sad times turn to glad times, things they never last. Nothing is forever, you can't change yesterday, and I can't say that I'd want to anyway. Well, go on my way, that was what she asked, and I knew that I was up to the task. So I said, now I am, and she climbed inside. She told me she was on the run, and I said, guess what, so am I, hun. And her face lit up like a trailer park at Christmas time. That's the way it goes, that's the way it goes, or at least that's what I've been told. Sad times turn to glad times, things they never last. Nothing is forever, you can't change yesterday, and I can't say that I'd want to anyway. Well, that was 6 months ago last week, and she's done snap my heart's losing streak, and she tells me, boy, she's happy as a clam. And I tell you, brother, the gospel truth, love at first sight, I'm living proof. And if a woman asks you going my way, you say, now I am. That's the way it goes, that's the way it goes, or at least that's what I've been told. Sad times turn to glad times, things ain't never last. Nothing is forever, you can't change yesterday, and I can't say that I'd want to anyway. That's the way it goes, that's the way it goes, or at least that's what I've been told. Sad times turn to glad times, things ain't never last. Nothing is forever, you can't change yesterday. Can't say that I'd want to anyway.
We'll be right back after our 30-second salute to capitalism.
Hi, I'm Dan Diffino, speaking on behalf of the Comfortless Chair Company in Low Point, North Carolina. We make all those uncomfortable chairs found in doctors' offices and waiting rooms all over America. It's not easy making seats that are ergonomically incorrect, but our trained experts know how to do it. Check out our website at mybuttaches.com.
Congratulations to the Nature Calls podcast for becoming the official soundtrack to over 1,400 public toilets across the nation. Way to go, America.
Welcome back to the Nature Calls podcast. Do all y'all know what a honey hole is? Well, let me explain this to you. See, a honey hole is a special place where you like to fish or hunt. A little stretch of water that has lots of fish, where you always seem to have good luck. That's what this next story is about. It's called Not Asking for Your Honey Hole, written by James McHugh and read for us by our man Drew, who happens to be getting way too much airtime this episode. I think I'm gonna need to talk to the producer about that.
I was filling up the truck at the Gas and Grunt when a fella pulled up next to me. "Howdy there," Charlie Sunglasses called out. He unfolded himself from his sports car, checked his zipper, and started in my direction. Peckerwood was my first thought, like, I need this guy right now. "Say there, buddy," Sunglasses said, pushing the frames farther up his nose. "Any good fishing in these here parts? I got a couple hours to kill." The traffic noise was loud. "Say that again?" I asked. "Fishing? Any good fishing around here? Not looking for a honey hole?" He's got balls, I thought, for asking a stranger about good fishing holes. My fingertips twitched on the gas nozzle trigger. This thing could easily be turned into a flamethrower. I dislike the name honey hole. Even worse, I dislike it when someone says, not asking for anyone's honey hole, when what he really means is he's flying under your radar and looking exactly for your favorite slice of unmolested river. An accurate translation would read, fair notice. I'm gonna trample your woods while searching for your private riffles, snag all your big fish, scatter my cigarette butts up and down the shore, leave a toilet paper teepee on your path, and drop the styrofoam cup I use for night crawlers in an eddy, where it will spin for all eternity. Here's a short history lesson. In 1915, the phrase honey hole first appeared in a boy's adventure book describing how to search for beehives located inside hollowed-out tree trunks. Years later, in 2003, a fella named Baxter T. Subterfuge, a professor of American literature at Duke University, went on the very first internet fishing message board and typed in, "Howdy folks, new here and hoping to take my sickly father for one more fishing trip before I stuff him in an old folks' home. Does anyone know a spot up around Mayberry where we could go? Not looking for a honey hole, just a place to cast some bait." Attention, listener to this podcast, I have an announcement. This is where I begin what is known as the old man rant. Feel free to skip over the next 20 seconds if you are in a hurry to leave the restroom and get back to your office. I'm old as dirt, but I remember a time when Facebook groups didn't exist. The question not asking for anybody's honey hole wasn't even whispered. It was a time when legends of untouched waters were scattered across the western states in places like the deserts of the Great Basin and the granite canyons of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Rumors persisted of tiny streams with even tinier brook trout, places so remote that the USGS hadn't drawn a blue line on a map. Back then, it was the responsibility of the outdoorsman to explore these lost streams, sink the truck to the axles, get bitten by a million mosquitoes, spend the entire weekend dragging the young pups along, and if he was truly lucky, maybe go home with a 6-inch rainbow. Back at the gas station, Charlie's sunglasses leaned heavily against my truck fender, the sun glinting off his chiseled features, smugness radiating out of his pores. I asked him, "Want to know where my honey hole is?" I gave him a jack-o'-lantern grin and said, "It's right between the cave where I buried the pirate chest of Aztec gold and the summer grazing pasture for my pet unicorn." Wait a minute, I try not to be that much of a jerk. Let me rephrase. What I said was, "Sure, I got a spot for you." I looked around to make sure no one else was eavesdropping, then said, "You go down this here road to the Pick and Puke and turn left. Keep going until you cross the third hump in the road. There's a dead skunk in the ditch. You'll smell it. That's how you know you've arrived. Drive another 100 yards or so and swerve the car into the bushes, where it consequently won't be discovered by the police for another 10 years. Climb down a steep cliff to the river bottoms. Go past the abandoned farmhouse with the shadowy figure staring out the window. Go another 200 or 300 feet until you come to 2 logs crisscrossed over the creek. Fish there under those logs, and maybe next time, if there is a next time, you might not use the words honey hole."
Nature calls, finding humor in the lowest common denominator.
Here he is again. Here's Zach Steek with If You're Looking for Someone, exclusively on the Nature Calls podcast.
I may not be a doctor operating on your hip, and I won't be a pirate with a big pirate ship. I may not be a chef that wins the James Beard Award, or a ninja in darkness with a cool ninja sword. But if you're looking for someone to love you for all time, someone who'll hold you, someone you can call mine. If you're looking for someone who'll always be around, darling, I'll be your man till they put me in the ground. Oh, I won't be a spy on some mission abroad, or a fancy pants lawyer suing people for fraud. There ain't much call for cowboys this day and age, and I don't have the looks to star on screen or the stage. But if you're looking for someone to love you for all time, someone who'll hold you, never leave you behind. If you're looking for someone who'll always be around, darling, I'll be your man till they put me in the ground. Never design some high-rise downtown, and I don't want to be a pilot. I like my feet on the ground. I'm too fat to win a gold medal in a track and field race. I don't want to be an astronaut with my ass out in space. But if you're looking for someone to love you for all time, someone who'll hold you, someone you can call mine. Put me in the ground. Sadly, I'll never play first base for the Braves, but I'm gonna love you till I'm laying in my grave.
The Winter Olympics wrapped up this week in Milan, Italy. with medals being awarded heavily to Norway, Italy, and the United States. But the real scoring occurred in the Olympic Village among the individual competitors themselves. Great Britain and Belarus scored a 126. Germany and Morocco had a strong showing with 203. But the real winners were the Canadians and Team Japan, scoring a whopping 567. Their gold, silver, and bronze medals are being prepared for a special MTV Awards show next week.
Well, it's once again time to load the dogs in the front and kids in the back and get some wind in my hair. It's been fun wasting time with y'all. Nature Calls is a production of Siegfried and Sonatube Publishing. Our sound engineer is Scat Bear, post-production by Marlo Wingerback, and produced by Hammer Good Times. Recording was made at Dandelion Studios in Wahoo County, Colorado. My name is Mr. Pete, and I appear courtesy of 11 Lab Studios in New York City. The show writers are James McHugh and Dick Hatfield. Our musical guest, Zach Steek, can be reached at ZACHSTICH.com.